Hardship is suffering. That's what it is. And for most generations who've lived before us for thousands of years, hardship was imposed from the outside. It was the world in which you lived. You had to escape robbers and tribes, and you had to escape tyrannical kings. You had to escape slavery. You had to escape war. You had to escape theft. There was so much sickness, starvation. Things were so difficult. So hardship was imposed on you from the outside. Well, what defines modern society than the absence of hardship? We just don't have the hardship that previous generations have had before us. Now, I'm not wishing for what generations before us have had. I love the fact that we've eliminated so many things, in terms of modern medicine, in terms of a stable society and democracy and all the wonderful things, technology and transportation, all the wonderful things that we have. I wouldn't trade a single bit of it. So I don't look for that kind of hardship. So the hardship, therefore, that we need today, living in luxury and ease, is self-imposed hardship. That means making it a little difficult on yourself. Don't make everything easy. It's an easy thing to do. And, as I said in the first episode, you kind of notice when people get a little fussy and they complain and get all upset about very, very simple things that even people 20 years ago didn't have. Overnight delivery. It's not uncommon for me when I order something. Like I ordered something, I think it was on a Saturday, not just a week ago. Like Saturday at 4 p.m. It's from Amazon. And Amazon said, order this by 5, which is within the hour, and they'll have it there Monday. Okay. I've seen it where it's like the next day without you really even paying that overpriced, next day charge. So a bunch of people now they're trying to get it to where it could be done within the hours. In fact, recently I just upgraded some of my gear from Macintosh computers. And they said like they could get it to me within 5 hours. Wow. Like I said in the first episode, man, when I was a kid, you had to wait 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. So to get something within a few hours, you get used to that sort of thing. And yeah, man, you're going to start being entitled. You're going to start being very demanding about, getting services and what have you in life. Again, I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful that I can get a new iPad in 5 hours. That's great. That's wonderful. I wouldn't trade it. I think it's badass. But I also know I got to be aware that this will also make me a weaker person. So if I'm going to achieve my goals, if I'm going to be who I have the power to be, then I'm going to have to do things to make life more difficult for myself. And so, who was it? It's David Goggins, the Navy SEAL, who has a remarkable story. I think the name of the book is Can't Hurt Me. But it's something you might want to read. It's a very telling account, his personal life and the hardship that he endured. He went from somebody who was just, beaten down, suffered, an enemy to himself, overweight, horrible shape, not living his life right, dead-end job. He went from that to who's now like this symbol of self-discipline, the symbol, of achievement and overcoming. And so he just preaches relentlessly. He's about on everybody's podcast that you can name. And he just, keeps telling the story of, what he did and now what he does to live the kind of life that he lives. But he's a great example of kind of what I'm talking about, which is he understands that you're going to get soft. And so he's going to impose upon himself hardship. Now, in his case, tends to be more ultra marathon. Ultra marathon, there's these crazy marathons that are like 150, 250 miles long, or like, 50, 24-mile marathons in 50 days. I mean, just psychotic stuff. And very interesting. I have, in fact, a little fascination with ultra marathon. I don't do it myself. I'm just fascinated with the mindset. But these are people who are putting themselves through unnecessary hardship. The average person doesn't want to run a marathon every morning. right? But these people do. They train. Their every day is a marathon every morning. An Olympic marathon they'll run every morning, like we would run a mile and be exhausted. But the point is that they are toughening themselves up in order to endure long distances. So hardship is something you have to impose because you're constantly going to be tempted with lusts, with personal gratification, with ego-driven things, with impatience, anger, playing the blame game. You're constantly going to be fraught with these kind of temptations. So in order to toughen yourself up, you're going to have to impose hardship upon yourself. We're going to talk a little bit more about this as we go on. But the simple premise is you've got to know that the time in which you live is the best of times, the best time ever known in the history of man in terms of technology, ease of life, all of that. But it's also the time when we may be the weakest generation that's ever lived. And so if we're going to overcome that, we got to begin first with the awareness that that's what we can suffer from, and then do what we can on a daily basis to impose the kind of hardship to toughen ourselves up to become everything that we have the possibility to be, because that's our first duty and sacred obligation. Can you dig it? Hope you can.